Hello, and welcome to Armin's Armchair Adventures. Today, we are continuing our exploration of the fascinating question, what if English were more like Dutch? This word journey transports us from modern Dutch to Old English and then back to modern English, and even other unexpected places along the way. If you haven't seen the first episode, no problem. Feel free to jump right in and enjoy this one. Okay, so our first word is doorgroeimogelijkheden. So it's doorgroeimogelijkheden. Sounds scary, right? It really shouldn't be. Let's break it down. The first part, door, is basically cognate with the English through. They have the same Proto-Germanic root, which means to pass through or to cross something. In Dutch, it's a very versatile preposition. For example, we have doorbraak, which literally means breakthrough in English. Groei means growth or development from the verb groeien, which is also cognate with the English verb to grow. Mogelijk is a contraction of mogen and leek. Mogen is related to English may, meaning to be allowed to, and leek comes from the same root as English like, or the adverb maker suffix li, as in to be like something. Hede is the plural of hate, which is cognate with the English suffix hoed, denoting the state or condition of something. For example, we have childhood or livelihood. So mogelijkheid, you can clearly see it's the Dutch equivalent of possibility or prospect. Doorgroeimogelijkheden as a whole then transforms into vroeggroeimelighoods. At least that's how I made sense of it myself when I first came across this monstrosity of a word. Doorgroeimogelijkheid or vroeggroeimelighoods means career development or advancement opportunities. We have career growth opportunities in English, and in Dutch they say doorgroeimogelijkheden. And I think that's beautiful. The second word is veerkracht, which means elasticity or resilience in English. I can't really pronounce this long E in Dutch quite well, but let's give it a go. So, in veerkracht, the first part means feather. They actually kind of sound similar as well, right? Veer, feather. And the second part of the word kracht is actually derived from the Proto-Germanic craftus, which has also given us the English word craft. Kracht in Dutch means strength or power or ability. Power is actually a loanword borrowed from Old French, and it can be traced back to the Latin potus, meaning powerful or in control. Although, like many other Anglo-French words, it has displaced the native Old English word, which used to be aanveld, from the Proto-West Germanic walden, meaning to wield power or to rule. In Dutch, the words for power are mostly macht or kracht. Macht, just by looking at it, you can see it means might, as in a mighty opponent in English. Macht is more the ability, authority, or power to make something happen. On the other hand, kracht is more the strength or ability to accomplish something. As a Dutch learner, I'm a bit confused about the distinction between these two, superkracht and supermacht. Both of these words seem to be translated as superpower on Google Translate, but probably they don't have exactly the same connotation. Maybe a native Dutch speaker can clarify the difference between these two. Next, we have toegankelijk, which means accessible in English. Please pause the video and try to identify its English cognates. Toegankelijk is actually made up of toegang plus the suffix leek. The leek part, as we've discussed it before, shares the same root as the English like, or the suffix li. Toegang itself is made up of the prefix to and gang. So the to-bit has, unsurprisingly, the same origin as the English to from the same Proto-Germanic roots, while gang has a very interesting origin. It has two separate but related etymologies in English. The first etymology is from Old Norse, and it's the sense that we use it today as a verb to gang up on people. The other one, which is chiefly Scottish, means to go or going. So we can change toegankelijk, meaning accessible, into our distorted, made-up Danglish as either toegankelijk or maybe toegankelijk. So next time you see ingang for entrance in Schiphol, it literally means to go in. The equivalent word, which is entrance in English, comes from, surprise, surprise, Old French, like all the other fancy words in modern English. The trans part in entrance actually means to go through or traverse. If you recall when we talked about doorgroeimogelijkheden, the door part is actually cognate with the English through, and they are both also cognate with trans in Latin. They all stem from the same Proto-Indo-European root, which means to pass through or to cross over. Bezienswaardigheden. It means site or tourist attractions in English. Again, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But it's super logical when you break it down. The beziens part is basically be plus zin. The prefix be used to indicate that the verb is acting on a direct object. It used to be common in English too. We still have verbs like to behead, beget, befall, beguile, or beseech in English. Zin is the verb to see in English. So, bezien, it's basically be see or be seen, if you like. The S part in between is actually an interfix, making it a bit easier to pronounce. The waardig in bezienswaardigheden, you can easily guess that it means worthy in English. Heden, as we've discussed it before, it's the plural of heid, which is the suffix goed in English, denoting the state or condition of something. So the whole thing, bezienswaardigheden, becomes besieworthighoods or beziensworthighoods, literally a place worthy to see or to visit, places of interest or tourist attractions. Actually, as far as I know, bezienswaardigheid is not something uttered in a day-to-day conversation in Dutch. It's kind of a posh way of saying attractie in Dutch. Notice the C or tsi ending in attractie. It's pronounced as tsi in Dutch from the Netherlands and just C in Flemish Dutch in Belgium. As a rule of thumb, whenever you have an English word ending in the suffix shen, like information, it is reasonably safe to convert it into C when you want to transform it into Dutch. Voila! You've just added thousands of new words to your Dutch vocabulary. The suffix shen, of course, comes from French and ultimately from Latin. I literally make up new words like this all the time. Let's say, for example, you are blanking out on the word for population in Dutch, which is bevolking. No worries. Just change the shen into C and say populatie. Everyone will understand it. The last Dutch word is werkelijkheid, meaning reality in English. Reality comes from the French word réalité. I'm sure like me you're seeing a pattern here. Most fancy English words come from French. But if you're creative enough, you can reconstruct the Germanic equivalent, which oftentimes has counterparts in other Germanic languages like Dutch. In this case, werkelijkheid, if we break it down part by part, we can change it to werkelijkheid. It just makes it easier to remember for an average English speaker who is trying to learn Dutch. Of course, it's not only in English. In Dutch too, we often have the influence of French words. So let's say, for example, werkelijkheid is too difficult for you. You can just say realiteit, which is the Romance version borrowed from French, instead of the native Germanic word. On the whole, as an English speaker learning Dutch, your possibilities are endless. You can either break down the Dutch word using your Germanic knowledge from the core English vocabulary, which is Germanic, or if that doesn't work, you can always tap into your Romance knowledge from almost 30% of English vocabulary which comes from French. And you can always switch between the two. There are almost always alternative ways to say a Germanic word using French equivalents and vice versa. I really hope you've enjoyed our linguistic journey today. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Bedankt en het allerbeste.